In our last video, we looked at a way of playing the Dark Magician in a very unorthodox and a little bit competitive manner. Now let's have a look at Joey's boss monster, the Red Eyes Black Dragon, and it is finally finding its way into a decent package in a decent deck to see actual competitive usage in the form of its new support card, the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. It just came out in the newest selection pack, one of very few cards that are actually good. I don't really like the UR, the Red Eyes UR. I think it's very underwhelming. But the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon, I'm a huge fan of, and I feel like it definitely has a place in Dragon Link as a very unique form of playing Dragon Link. Because remember, we used to play the Black Metal Dragon in Dragon Link in order to search your deck for the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and that was all well and good. And then that sort of faded out when we got Bystials, and there just wasn't enough room to justify it. Whereas now, the utility behind the Black Metal Dragon has just doubled. Because now, after you search your deck for the Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, you get to basically use this card to also search your deck for the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. This card is not once per turn. This card is not once per turn. It is incredible. So we're bringing utility back to the Black Metal Dragon by doing it. You do need to play a Garnet or two though. I'm playing two Red Eyes Black Dragons. You can play one. It's fine. You definitely do not need two. I just don't want to run the risk of it getting milled or banished or anything like that. As you'll see in one of our games, it does actually happen. But either way, this is the deck list. Dragon Link featuring the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. Ton of fun. If you're interested in decks like these, I'm going to be doing a full card for card deck profile at the end, talking about each and every card in the deck and why it's here. So if you're interested in these types of breakdowns, absolutely subscribe and catch them as they're coming out. We do new content every single day. And if you want to like the video as well, if you enjoy watching it, and if you want to show even more support, of course, there is the option to become a member. You can do that using the link in the description or the little join button down below there. You can absolutely hit either one of those to sign yourself up and become one of the members of the Converged. Every little bit definitely adds up, and I appreciate all the support that we get. No matter what form it takes, even if it is just liking a video and leaving a comment, every little bit adds up. So without any further ado, let's get into replay number 1. Alrighty, so up first on our list is some Tearlament's Copium. They go for Diviner here. Diviner sending Kelbeck to the graveyard, gonna mill the top 5 from both players' decks. Milling a Havness. Luckily, we got that Jerusalem on deck. They're gonna go for Keldo though to protect their Havness. They do this all the time, and I feel like it's a super underwhelming play. They're actually gonna shuffle back our Mignomet as well. I guess they just don't want us to have the ability to summon out the Bystials, like, at all. Which, you know, that's fair. They're going to banish our Recharger from the graveyard to summon their own Mignomet, which is a pain in the ass because we only run the one Recharger, of course, into the Dark Charmer, and they simply pass. Good job, Tearlaments. Welcome to the bottom of the tier list. Get out of here. So we're going to draw for turn. We're going to draw into the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Very, very powerful card. And one of the main reasons this Red Eyes package is even worth running is because not only does it facilitate your Meteor Extender, it also facilitates the Darkness Metal Dragon, which is a more powerful card, of course. So we're going to begin our turn with the Lubellion. Lubellion's going to be instantly met with an Ash Blossom. So there's one interruption we're playing against. That's whatever. We don't mind that Ash Blossom. It's not really impactful. We're going to now go for Star Leads. They're going to try and summon out their Drissworm from the hand by banishing our Lubellion. We're going to counter that by banishing our own Lubellion off of our Baldric so we can summon it out first. Star Leads then going to pitch the Drissworm from hand to the graveyard. That's going to trigger off a Havness. Basically, we're left in a position where we have one of very few options here. We were going to use this to search your deck for the Meteor Black Dragon, right? So let's have a look at the card here. This is a level 6, which means with the Starleaf Cipher, you can actually either discard this card to search your deck for a Bystial monster, or you can discard a Bystial monster to search your deck for this. So it's a little bit flexible in that regard. We were going to search our deck for this because I did want to show it off a little bit, but in response to Seifert, he used Havness, and during Havness's resolution, he milled a Siren. So we knew he was going to use Siren, so I had to grab a Bystial, unfortunately. So we grabbed the Mignomet, he activates the Siren as anticipated. We used the Mignomet to banish the Siren, thus preventing its resolution. So, you know, it is what it is. That's fine. And now what we're going to do here is this puts us in a pretty neat position here. We're going to go for Chaos Base first of all, grabbing back Lubellion, drawing 1. Now we're going to Synchro Summon into the Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel, on summon, is going to be able to banish his the Dark Charmer. Basically because whenever this card is destroyed, he would get the Searches deck for something, which we don't want to deal with. So now that Chaos Angel is on the field, any of our Synchro monsters are unaffected by our opponent's activated effects, and all of our monsters in general cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's pretty awesome. We're going to banish our Baldric here, summoning out the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. We're going to tribute off the Black Metal Dragon here that we just revived for the Striker Dragon. Using it now, we get to search our deck for a Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. So we grab the Boot Sector Launch, first of all, off of Striker. Then we grab our Meteor Dragon off of the Black Metal Dragon, which we can immediately summon out to the field by sending the Red Eyes Black Dragon to the graveyard. Link summoning off using these two into Romulus. Romulus then going to grab us the Dragon Ravine. We're going to use Dragon Ravine first of all. Going to activate it, dropping Safer to drop Absol Dragon from the deck. Absol searching our deck for Tracer. Pretty standard plays here. We're going to go Boot Sector Launch, summoning out both the Rocket Synchron and Tracer from the hand. We're going to link off into Pisty using Tracer, but what we're going to do next is this card, whenever you summon it, it's a level 6 in hand, but when you summon it, it becomes a level 7. That is useful because now you can use it alongside your Rocket Synchron as a level 8 Synchro into the Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler then, of course, being level 8, you check the top 5 cards of your deck to grab a Lighter Dark among them. We check the top 5 and we hit 2 copies of Labellion, which we're going to use to add to our hand here. We're going to tribute off Chaos Ruler to summon out Labellion from the graveyard. Labellion then basically activating Branded Regain from the deck. Chaos Ruler activating, banishing cards, bringing itself back, going into Triple Burst, going into Borderland Dragon, going into easy lethal. So that's a small glimpse of the utility of the Black Metal Dragon. We didn't get a ton of really good replays of showing it off, unfortunately. But we do definitely have a couple of really fun replays of the deck in general. But that's an idea of how the Black Metal Dragon works and why the Meteor Dragon is actually worth playing because of the Black Metal Dragon and its ability to once per turn search your deck for Red Eyes cards. So now you've got 2 viable targets, very good extenders. Let's get into game 2. Already getting into game 2 here, we're starting off going second against our opponent playing Kashtira. Gonna bring out the Fenrir. Fenrir gets searching for the Raise Heart. We have no hand traps in hand. It sucks to suck. And they're gonna go for the Kashtira Birth because they're just good at the game, I guess. They just hard opened it. They're gonna start banishing our cards. This replay really bugged me because there's one Red Eyes Black Dragon banished already. First banish of the game, and they hit our Red Eyes Black Dragon. They're going to go into Diabolosis here. Diabolosis, of course, going to have a little peek under the hood of our extra deck. They're going to banish the Romulus, then they're going to banish another set of cards off the top of our deck. Of course, nothing really too impactful. They hit our Ravine and things. Branded Regain's annoying, but nothing too bad. We draw into the Meteor Black Dragon, which is nice. We got a really solid hand here in terms of the amount of cards that we have. We start with Safer. Safer going to drop Safer to grab ourselves a Black Dragon, collapse a bit before linking itself off into the Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon being very powerful in this particular situation. We're going to grab the Boot Sector Launch from the deck. Fenrir banishing the Striker Dragon, which suits us. They're going to banish a bunch of cards off the top of the deck. And among those cards were our second copy of the Red Eyes Black Dragon. So, it sucks to suck. It really does. Unfortunately, because they're banished face down, we don't have the ability to get them back. So our Meteor Dragon suddenly really isn't all that useful in this situation. We're going to go Quick Launch to summon a Tracer. That's going to trigger off Kashtira Birth, continuing to banish our cards face down, which is very annoying. We're going to summon out Absol, linking it off into the Heretic Seal. That's going to trigger Absol to get searching for another copy of Tracer using Boot Sector. Now we have 2 rockets in hand. We can summon out 2 rockets to the field. Going to link off the Tracer into the Pisty. And from here, it's a pretty standard Dragon Link board. Despite all of the interruption, despite not getting Ravine and all of that, we still have the ability to combo like a madman all the way up into the Boral End Dragon. Special summoning out the Wyver Burster using our Tracer to pop the field spell so we can summon out Recharger, going into the Borreload Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon equipping itself with the Triple Burst from the graveyard, triggering Boral End to negate the Diabolosis to bring back a Tracer so we can Synchro Summon again into the Chaos Ruler. Now Chaos Ruler going to check the top 5 of the deck for a useful card to see if we can add one in the hand. There's a Saronir right there. That's one possible option and the only option there, so we're going to grab the Saronir. Now we're going to use Chaos Space, banishing it to shuffle back into the deck the Striker Dragon to draw 1. We draw Labellion, which we actually didn't have any viable search targets left for, so we just summon it straight from the hand. Chaos Ruler activating Engrave, going to banish a Light and a Dark. That's going to trigger their Ghost Bell, which is going to negate the Chaos Ruler. Very interesting, stopping the Ruler from coming back. That is going to help sort of diminish our ability to go for lethal, but not by much. Summon out Saronir, Boral End, swing over the Fenrir for 11, over Diabolosis for 700, swinging directly with the Borreload Savage Dragon for 42, and finishing off with Labellion's 25. Dragon Link is the best deck in the format, and Red Eyes has a viable spot in this deck. Of course, this replay wasn't exactly the greatest showing of it, but you saw the good points in the first duel. I wanted to show off at least some of the bad points in the second one, because you do rely upon having the Red Eyes Black Dragon in your deck. So if you open it up, or it gets banished, or it gets milled, or it otherwise is incapacitated, suddenly you're maybe not liking the card as much. It's still useful because you can still like ditch it off of your Safer to search for a Bestial. You can still tribute summon it, ironically, sometimes that comes up. But it definitely loses a lot of its utility the moment the Red Eyes Black Dragon leaves your deck. But either way, let's get into replay number 3. Alright, this duel right here is going to be an absolute battle, a war against one of the other best decks of the format. They're going to go for the Coup Clock here off the clan. That's right, it is Labyrinth. Triggering off their lady right away. We're going to go for an early Max C. We might as well. Because he's going for the Coup Clock, I would be inclined to believe he does want to do some additional summoning off of a welcome card later on this turn, so triggering it early is beneficial. They're going to go and they're going to set Big Welcome Labyrinth directly from deck to hand. That is, of course, what we were expecting them to do. That does trigger the Coup Clock in the graveyard. We're going to activate the Drissworm, banishing the Coup Clock, preventing it from coming back. That is huge in stopping the Labyrinth scheme here of setting up their trap cards for usage on our turn. Again, with a deck like this, you really need to be very proactive in terms of stopping it. They are going to be setting up the Eradicator Virus, which if you look at our hand, we're a little bit more prone to that card right now than what we normally are. Normally we don't care too much about the virus, but our hand, we looking kind of heavy on spells right now. I'm not going to lie, Chief. We're drawing into another one. They're going to use their lady. They're going to try and snipe a card out of our hand or destroy our Drissworm, but we all know what they're going to choose. Adding the Chandelier back to the hand from the graveyard. Using the lady here, they're going to pop the Tracer, still leaving us with 3 spells in hand. It is not looking good for your boy. They're going to place the Big Welcome back onto the field, which they're going to use right away in the draw phase. We're going to chain to that our Quick Launch, because we figure we might as well use it before they go for their Labyrinth. They're going to chain to that their Silver Castle. That is the perfect opportunity for us to activate Max C. So, Max C, of course, is going to allow us to at least draw a couple of extra cards, hopefully, and get some advantage out of the turn. Summoning a Coup Clock, bouncing them back. We draw in the Regained, unfortunately, yet another spell card. Very, very unfortunate, because we know that they have the trap card face down, the Virus. They're going to go for a D-Barrier. D-Barrier then triggering off Lady Labyrinth for the Silver Castle, which is, you know, quite unfortunate. That's going to set an Imperm directly to the field, and let's not forget, because of the Coup Clock, that can be used this turn. They're going to pop our Drissworm, or sorry, we're going to pop our Drissworm to summon Recharger off of our Tracer, which was maybe a little bit preemptive, but we are going to be able to take care of that lovely, except it gets tributed by the Virus card. So Virus declaring spells, that's going to pop every spell in our hand, and for the next 3 turns, if we draw a spell, it gets destroyed. So we're going to have to combo with what we've got. We're going to start with Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon going to get Searching for Boot Sector Launch. Luckily, if you search your deck for a spell card, it doesn't get affected by the Virus, only if you draw it. So we are going to grab the Recharger back from the graveyard, triggering its effect to bring back the Drissworm from the grave, normal summoning Ash Blossom to link these two off into IP Mask Arena. And then we're going to link this off into Pisty, using the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon, sending the Red Eyes Black Dragon to the grave, now linking off into the Triple Burst Dragon, triggering the Pisty. Pisty going to bring back the Meteor Dragon, so now we can link off into the Borderland Dragon. Borderland Dragon would normally target and negate the Labyrinth card, but unfortunately it is untargetable, but that's just fine. We are simply going to beat its ass. So, we have the Borderland Dragon. Borderland Dragon, let's talk about this card very briefly. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and cannot be targeted by either player for monster effects. Can be targeted by spells and traps, which means Labyrinth is going to be one of those decks that actually have a somewhat beneficial matchup against things like the Borderland Dragon and Dragon Link as a whole. Dragon Link being a phenomenally powerful combo and deck going into this next format. By the time you're seeing this, we're probably a week or 2 into the format already. This is being recorded September 1st, so it is. But you're probably not seeing this until like a week or 2 later. Going for the Lab card, bringing back the Big Welcome here. Coup Clock activating so they can activate the Big Welcome early. We're going to use our Borderland just so I stop getting prompted with it, to be perfectly honest. It's negated. We know it's negated. They're going to go for the Big Welcome. Big Welcome summoning back the lady, using its effect of the field spell to pop the Borderland Dragon. Very, very unfortunate that they're able to get rid of our boss monster there. Utilizing the Lovely, they're going to activate its effect to pop a card in our hand. They're going to bring back the Chandelier, and this is just this resource loop that Labyrinth worked their way into that is just incredibly difficult to break. Incredibly difficult. They're going to go normal summon the Chandelier, 15 and 29 to the face. If we draw a spell, it gets instantly destroyed. If we try to draw anything else, the Labyrinth is going to make it a nightmare. We draw it into the Black Meteor Dragon. Luckily, we play 2 Red Eyes Black Dragons, so we can at least summon the bad boy out to the field, into the battlefield, trying to take it out. But they've got that big welcome engraved. They're going to bounce us back to hand. Using the Lovely, they're going to pop a card in our hand, and that's looking like game. So we decided, you know what, we're going to let our opponent have it. They worked real hard for that. It was an absolute battle back and forth, but you know what? They got it. Sometimes it just be like that. Hard fought game, absolutely. We did get to see the Black Meteor Dragon acting as an extender more than once, so it was pretty neat in that regard. But ultimately, Labyrinth, being one of the biggest contenders in this next format, are going to be able to use a lot of its tools to shut down and slow down a lot of dragon-like decks, because it sort of does resist a lot of its boss monsters. Being able to, Dimensional Barrier does hold a place against Dragon Link. Of course, it doesn't lose instantly to it like most decks do, because it can play Link monsters, which are unaffected by D-Barrier, but most of its Link monsters are fairly vulnerable to the regular, you know, tricks and such of Labyrinth cards. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm looking forward to the two of them going head-to-head for basically the remainder of this format, until things are shaken up by the introduction of new cards. But we shall see. Let's get into the deck profile. And here we have it, Red Eyes Dragon Link. So, what exactly does Dragon Link do? As a rough summation, it spams out dragons like it's nobody's business. You want to summon out a bunch of really powerful Synchro and Link monsters to overpower your opponent. The idea of the deck is that its consistency is rivaled only by its versatility. You have an endless number of different ways to go into various monsters and plays. You play back row, you play spell trap removal, you play pops, you play control. You play Graveyard Disruption with your Bestials. It basically, the name of the game when it comes to Dragon Link is versatility. What does Red Eyes add to that versatility? Well, I'm glad you asked. The Black Metal Dragon is the primary point of control when it comes to the Red Eyes strategy. Black Metal Dragon, essentially, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, will search your deck for a Red Eyes card. That is not once per turn. So there are 2 primary targets that you want to play as a result of this. In the past, people played Black Metal Dragon alongside the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon as a sole target to search for. This card can basically special summon itself out from your hand by banishing a dragon you control, and can bring back a dragon from your graveyard or banish pile. So that, or sorry, is it, no, it's graveyard or hand, isn't it? Hand or graveyard, yes. So this was a pretty powerful card, very powerful strategy, and definitely justified by itself playing the Black Metal Dragon. Well, now you've got a second search target. That is the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. This card will basically send a level 5 or higher normal monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and you get to special summon this card, and then it boosts its level up by 1. So that's very interesting, because it basically means that if you were to, for example, have just the Black Metal Dragon, you would normal summon the Black Metal Dragon, you would link it off into Striker Dragon, for example. Black Metal Dragon would then search your deck for the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. You could banish your Striker to summon the Darkness Metal Dragon. That will revive your Black Metal Dragon, and then you can link those 2 off into, say, Romulus, and then Romulus will search Ravine, as well as the Black Metal Dragon searching your deck for the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. That means out of 1 normal summon, you now have a link 2 on the field, you have 2 field spells, so you basically went from 1 card. You have only 1 card in hand, right? You normal summon that Black Metal Dragon, link it off in the Striker, Darkness Metal comes out, bring back Black Metal. Now the Striker Dragon searches your deck for Boot Sector Launch. So in your hand you have Boot Sector Launch. Link these 2 now, your Black Metal and your Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, into Romulus. Now you've got Boot Sector, and you've got Ravine, and you've got the Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon. So off that 1 normal summon, you've now got a link 2 on board, and you've got 3 additional cards in hand, all of which can be used to extend your combo. Including this, which is basically a free special summon. Now, this does, of course, necessitate the running of a Garnet, which would be a Red Eyes Black Dragon. You can run 1 of it, you can run 2 of it. I was running 2. Very rarely did a second one come up, so you can absolutely just run 1 of this card. And basically, you're just going to be sending it from deck to graveyard, essentially. But yeah, that's the utility of the Red Eyes package. Let's talk briefly about the rest of the deck. We do of course have quite a lot of hand traps in here. We're playing the standard Max C package, triple Max C, triple Ash, double Called By, and a singular Crossout. The Bestials all also act as a form of hand trap in most matchups, but it's not quite universal, so I don't want to discuss them as such. They are in this deck, of course, extenders. So let's cover off the rest of the list. Now, I would play this card at 3. I was playing it at 2 because I wanted to play 2 of this, but if I'm cutting this to 1, I would play 3 copies of the Black Metal Dragon. We're of course playing 1 for 1 to search this from the deck as well, to summon it straight to the field, which is like an additional card in the Red Eyes engine. So 1 for 1 makes it even more consistent, which is awesome. But yeah, that's the Red Eyes engine in general. We of course have Rockets as well. We're playing Rocket Synchron, double Tracer, and a singular Recharger. This is part of a package here to basically quick play summon a bunch of dragons from the deck. Tracer as a quick effect, it is a level 4 tuner by the way, this is the tuner. As a quick effect, you can destroy a face-up card you control to summon a rocket from your deck to the field, but it locks you into dragons, dark monsters, sorry, for the rest of that turn. So the idea is the Tracer's going to summon out your Recharger, 4 and a 4, there's an 8 to go into Borreload or Chaos Ruler or whatever, or sometimes you just use it as Link extension. It does lock you out of Romulus and Seals though, so if you plan on summoning Romulus or Seals, you need to summon these cards first. So Tracer's pretty awesome. Recharger is purely here as a level 4. It does have some niche interactions with Striker Dragon, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's mainly just here as a level 4. And lastly, with the level 1 tuner, the Rocket Synchron, which is of course here for its level and the fact that it's a tuner. It does bring up some niche interactions within the deck. So that's the Rocket monsters. We of course run the Field Spell, which will be searched off of your Striker Dragon, Boot Sector Launch, boost up all your rockets by 300 attack and defense, it's whatever. Mainly here for its other 2 effects. It's effect number 1, you can special summon up to 2 different rockets from hand in defense. Or if your opponent has more monsters than you can special summon rockets from the graveyard equal to the difference. So if your opponent maybe has 3 monsters on their board and you have 0, well, Boot Sector Launch will let you bring back all 3 different rockets from the graveyard if you have them all there. So that's pretty neat. It basically just acts as a huge piece of extension, and it's ridiculously easy to search, of course, off your Striker Dragon, your Link 1. As you'll be using this card quite a lot. We have Quick Launch, which will special summon any rocket monster from deck instantaneously, which is awesome. It's not once per turn, there's no cost. It's crazy, crazy card. And the last card as part of the rocket package is the Absoluter Dragon. This card, if you control a rocket, you can special summon it from hand, which comes up on occasion. Or when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search your deck for a rocket monster and add it to your hand. But an excellent way of adding additional resources to your Boot Sector Launch. So those are the rocket cards. And then we essentially just have the generic dragon monsters from that point onwards. So we have Chaos monsters, we have the White Dragon and Black Dragons. Both of them you special summon from your hand by banishing the opposing attribute. So for light you banish dark, for dark you banish light. And when one goes to the graveyard, they search your deck for the other. So if you special summon a Wyvern Burster, blink it off in the Striker Dragon, then you get to search your deck for the Black Dragon, and then you can instantly summon it by banishing the White Dragon. Right? So it's like a free extenders, pretty awesome cards. Seyfert can send dragons from your hand or field to the graveyard to add a dragon from your deck to your hand whose level matches the cumulative levels of all dragons you sent. My hair is getting way too long. So this is a good way of searching your deck for basically whatever you want. You can grab Labellion off of it, but more often than not what you're going to do is you're going to use its effect to either send itself or send another lower level dragon in your hand to the grave to grab yourself a Chaos Twin. Got Red Eyes we've covered, then we got the Bestials. We got 1 of each small Bestial and 2 of the big boss Labellion. All of these guys summon themselves to the field by banishing a light or dark monster from either player's graveyard, and it becomes a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. So they're excellent forms of interruption against light or dark decks that require resources in their graveyard. They all also of course have individual effects. Magnomet will search your deck for a dragon during the end of the turn in which you summon it. Saronir will send a branded spell or trap or a bestial monster from deck to graveyard when it's sent to the graveyard. Drissworm, when sent from field to grave, will send a special summon monster your opponent controls to the grave. And Baldrake, when your opponent special summons a Ritual, Fusion, Synchro Exceed, or Link monster, you get to tribute another light or dark monster in your field in order to target that monster and banish it. Pretty straightforward stuff. You got Lobelion himself, which can discard itself to grab yourself another Bestial from deck to hand. It can also special summon itself from the hand or graveyard by tributing a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon. And once per turn, you can take a branded continuous spell or trap directly from your deck and play it onto the field. Excellent way of setting up Branded Beast or Branded Regained for additional advantage or additional disruption. Sometimes both. We have Chaos Space, which will let you drop a lighter or dark monster to grab a different another lighter dark monster between levels 4 to 8, which cannot be normal summoned or set. But it has to be the opposing attribute. And that's typically speaking, that's your Chaos Twins. It can also grab Lobelion, but normally speaking, it's your Chaos Twins. So if you drop a dark to activate Chaos Space, you grab the White Dragon. If you drop a light, you grab the Dark Dragon. It's that simple. It does have a second effect that allows you to banish this card from your graveyard to shuffle back one of your lighter dark monsters that can't be normal summoned or set back into your deck to draw one. Nice little bit of advantage, nice Upstart Goblin there. Especially useful alongside your Chaos Twins because you can basically summon one, link it off to search the other, banish the one in the graveyard to summon the twin in hand, then Chaos Space will return your banished twin back to the deck, and then whenever your one on the field goes to the grave, you search for the original one again. You can't summon it again, but it acts as additional card advantage. So if you need to discard something, or if you just want to set yourself up for next turn, it's just putting yourself in good stead. It's nice to have... Usually the person with more cards wins. Ravine will basically be searched directly from deck to hand off of Romulus. This card will allow you to discard a card to send any dragon from deck to graveyard, especially useful alongside the Absa Rider Dragon, or sometimes the Bestial Lobelion, but primarily Absa Rider. Branded Regained and Branded Beast. These are the two cards you're going to be playing off of Lobelion. Branded Regained, if a lighter dark monster is ever banished, you can target one of those monsters, shuffle it back into the deck, and then you draw a card. Now that's either player's banish pile, so you can do that with your opponent's cards as well. And while this card is face up, if your opponent summons a monster, once per turn you get to special summon a Bestial monster from your graveyard. Excellent way at gaining and sort of retaining card advantage, as the name would suggest, Branded Regained. It's basically a way of you maintaining card advantage and keeping yourself in the game for longer duels in particular. Then you have Branded Beast. Branded Beast will allow you, as long as you control a Bestial monster, to tribute a dragon once per turn to pop an opponent's card. It will also, during your end phase, or the end phase, play a branded continuous spell or trap from your graveyard directly face up onto your field. So a very common little strategy with that is if you have something like the Bestial Saronir, you get it to the graveyard, will send Regain to the graveyard, and if Lobelion can play Branded Beast directly from the deck, then you get to replay the Regained that you just sent to the grave. Easy card advantage. And that's the whole main deck. Now that is... I tried to package it off into different parts. The thing about Dragon Link is that it's very fragmented. There's a ton of different strategies that all work together, but they, by and large, all want to accomplish the same thing. They just want to throw a bunch of dragons onto the field so that you can do whatever the hell you want, right? That's the idea, and where that really comes into play, of course, is the extra deck and the toolbox of monsters that you give yourself to play with. There is a little bit of flexibility here. There's a lot of monsters that it would be silly not to play, but there's also quite a lot of cards that you would want to play but maybe can't fit in, right? So one in particular, for example, I want us to bear in mind as we're going through this is the Abyss Dragon, which I did not fit in at the time, and is definitely a card a lot of people would play, but I just couldn't. So I'm going to put that in as well, and we're going to talk about it too. Just bear in mind that this is a 16 card extra deck. You have to take a card out. We took this card out. Starting with synchros. So the Borreload Dragon is Borreload Savage Dragon is one of your primary boss monsters. When summoned, you'll grab a Link monster from the graveyard. This card gains attack points equal to half of that equipped monster's attack, and he gains Borrel counters equal to that monster's Link rating. So normally you're going to summon this with Triple Burst Dragon in your graveyard, who's a 2400 attack point Link 3 monster, meaning you will gain an additional 1200 attack points and 3 Borrel counters. What do the Borrel counters do? Well, once per turn you can remove a Borrel counter to negate the activation of any card or effect. So it's basically an Omni Negate once per turn, and you can do it every turn up to the number of different Borrel counters you add on. Plus he becomes pretty fucking huge, 4200, massive. Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is more of an engine card. When this card is synchro summoned, you will check the top 5 cards of your deck, grab a later dark monster among them, and send the rest of the graveyard. Excellent way of generating card advantage. because it can also resummon itself back from the graveyard by banishing a light and a dark monster from the grave, but it's banished when it next then leaves the field. So it's a pretty amazing card. It can of course grab you additional resources from the deck, resummons itself for extra link summoning. Just a great card overall. And one of the cards that works best alongside is one of the ones we didn't even play, the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. This card is summoned specifically using a tuner and a non-tuner Dark Dragon Synchro monster, very specific, which is almost exclusively your Chaos Ruler. He ticks all those boxes, and because he brings himself back from the graveyard, it makes him perfect for Synchro material, alongside your Rocket Synchron. This guy basically can target a face-up card in the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn. You can also resummon tuners back from your graveyard if he inflicts battle damage. This card is definitely a beast at 3200 attack points, with that built in once per turn negate. So absolutely, I would recommend, if you can find room for this card, you could absolutely play it. If you wanted to cut out Delindrus or cut out Masquerena, any of these types of cards, it didn't really come up very often that I was in a position to summon it. But that's, again, because I wasn't playing it, I wasn't looking for those opportunities, I wasn't trying to set them up, and sometimes a card like this is definitely worth setting up. So do bear that in mind. Baron de Fleur, generic level 10 Synchro monster. We don't use this very often because Tracer often locks us out of our non-dark monsters, so we don't often summon it. But once per turn, basically you get to pop a card in your opponent's field, and that's not a quick effect, that's an ignition effect. But as a quick effect, you do get a once while face up Omni Negate. Pretty solid card overall. The level 10 Synchro that you will use more often, however, is the Chaos Angel. This card does not need a tuner so long as the monsters you're using are all light or dark. On summon, you can target a card in the field and banish it, and it gains additional passive effects based upon the attributes of monsters used for its Synchro summon. So if you use a light monster, any Synchro monster you control is unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects, which is huge. That is a really powerful effect, so absolutely. It also then protects all of your monsters from battle destruction, so that is definitely not something worth running out. You can probably hear the ice cream truck outside. But yes, passive battle protection as well as Synchro monster protection from activated monster effects. What's more to love, especially considering how easy it is to summon with your Seifert and any of your Bestials. That's the most common way in which you'll use it. But yes, love Chaos Angel, absolutely. Pisty. Pisty is a Link 1, getting into our Dragon Link package. Pisty's a Link 1. So long as he's face up, you can only summon dragons, which, you know, isn't really an issue. But what you can do, basically, so long as you have this guy on the field, you can special summon any dragon back from your graveyard or banish pile to any zone that 2 or more Link monsters point to. So you need to work with your arrows a little bit here, which is very easy to facilitate. That's why we played a Triple Burst Dragon. But Pisty basically just brings back a monster, which is excellent. A monster in particular you would like to bring back perhaps multiple times if you didn't get the opportunity to earlier in the game is the Black Metal Dragon, because again you get those multiple searches, multiple extenders, and you just profit all day long. So Black Metal Dragon makes Pisty even more powerful. Or vice versa, I should say. Strider Dragon, a generic Link 1 monster. When it's Link summoned, you will grab a Boot Sector launch from deck to hand. It's primarily here just as a way of triggering off effects, searching your Boot Sector launch, facilitating chain blocks, things like that. It's just a toolbox card, definitely a 2 of at least. We got the Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This is basically during your opponent's turn, if this is in the extra monster zone, you can tribute a monster to bounce up an opponent's card back to the hand. And usually tributing itself, because when this card is tributed, you get to special summon any dragon from your hand or deck, but its attack and defense becomes 0. That's not going to matter much when you're summoning the likes of Magnuma to get searching, or Drissworm to get sending from field to graveyard, or basically it's just excellent for summoning out the Bestial monsters in particular. So Seals is very powerful, abso-freaking-lutely. Romulus is here to search for Ravine, that's it. Delindrus Dragon is not a card we use very often, but it's basically an extender. Essentially, it can just bring itself back, right? If a rocket monster is special summoned to your field while it's in the grave, you special summon this card back, right? Pretty straightforward stuff. It's a Link 2 that revives itself. Masquerena, generic Link monster, works alongside your Unicorn to bounce a card back to your opponent's deck during your opponent's turn. You don't use it very often. Triple Burst Dragon. Triple Burst Dragon is here exclusively for its Link arrows. That is it. So what you'll normally do, of course, is you'll go for your combo, you'll summon out your Romulus, which of course has 2 downward arrows. You will then summon Pisty to one of those zones. It's pointing this way, and now, or sorry, this way. Camera's reversed. You know what I mean. So it's pointing in that direction, and then you will link off Romulus and any other monster to bring a triple burst. So now triple burst and Pisty are both pointing at the same zone, making Pisty's effect live. So this is exclusively here for its link arrows. Plus, being a link 3 makes your Borderland Dragon significantly easier to summon. Access code, generic link monster, pop the whole field, do a bunch of that battle damage, pretty straightforward card. And lastly, the Borderland Dragon, the actual boss monster of the deck, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and cannot be targeted by monster effects, so it can be pretty difficult to remove. There are certain decks and strategies that do have outs to it. It's not impossible. It does lose to Imperm. But it's definitely very, very difficult for decks to get rid of, especially in a situation where maybe they're not the most prepared for it. Maybe they weren't expecting it. Borderland Dragon is an absolute beast. On top of course, being incredibly hard to get rid of, and having 3,500 attack points, it can also attack all of your opponent's monsters once each, so it gets incredibly aggressive as well. And lastly, if that wasn't enough, they topped it off with a negate. You can, as a quick effect, target a monster your opponent controls and a rocket in your graveyard, negate your opponent's monster, and resummon the rocket. And what's better is your opponent cannot activate any cards or effects in response to that negate. It is like Super Poly. You cannot stop it, you cannot react to it. It is inevitable. So Borderland Dragon is an absolute beast. Not only does it, of course, facilitate negation and aggression, OTKs, control its towers, it also brings back a rocket, which even during your turn, turn 1, is very useful, because you can usually use that effect to go into an additional synchro summon for the likes of a Savage Dragon, or if you're feeling lucky, an Abyss Dragon. So Borderland Dragon is absolutely nuts. Now, of course, you need to pick any card in this extra deck, you can cut it. Delindrus, we never used it, you can cut it. Masquerena, Unicorn, we never used them, you can cut them. They're a little bit more useful, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of cards in there that like are really good, but they're not 100% needed. I would probably play it like this in hindsight. I didn't have this guy, I would play him though. And this is the deck, Red Eyes Dragon Link. So if you're a fan of Red Eyes, or if you just found the video enjoyable in general and want to see more as it comes out, subscribe and like the video. Every little bit of engagement does definitely add up, and I appreciate all the support that we can get. But that should pretty much wrap us up here for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.